So guys, Autism Week. Gives me a reason to make another video instead of doing college work. Yeah, I have good priorities, I swear. So if you don't know, I'm autistic. Aspergers to be specific. I know it's complicated, can't help that. I was originally going to make a video where I give my diagnosis story and then do some comedy skits to show off some Aspergery things. But that idea went completely out the window, so I opted for this instead. It'll be a similar sort of video, just without the all-over lack of direction. So first of all, my diagnosis story really isn't much. Basically, I had a meltdown one day, so we went to a hospital and that's where I got diagnosed a couple of weeks or months or however long it was. I don't know. I can't remember that much of it. You can see why I originally added all the other skit stuff, can't you? Well, that was pretty much it. Nothing special there. No special backstory as such. Anyway, so on to the second part of the video. This is basically going to be a bit of an explanation for normal or neurotypical people to what it's like having autism or Asperger's. This might end up being quite the list if I can think of enough to say, so we'll see how it goes. I can't believe I'm making a bloody video like this. Okay, first thing, special interests. Now this is probably one of the most well-known Aspie traits. Being completely obsessed over something in particular, often to rather extreme extents. My biggest special interest would be Doctor Who. But for someone else it might be cars, or US presidents, or I don't know, the complete history of the feather duster perhaps, I don't know. Or whatever. Okay, weird and unhelpful example. But really, these can be anything as long as the person in question is very passionate about it, and then it counts as a special interest. And I know normal people might say, well, I've seen every episode of insert popular TV show here, or I literally don't do anything with my life other than play Call of Duty and Fortnite all day. Yeah, that's all very well and dandy, but do you know very obscure and random facts about that TV show or that COD game? Okay, using Doctor Who as an example for me again, do you remember that the planet Tigella spins on an anti-clockwise axis? Do you know the names of every actor who played the main character, and are you able to recite them in perfect order so fast that it probably breaks a world record? Do you spend hours of your life reading on the wiki page about all the expanded off-screen facts and secrets? I don't think so. Why is it every time I try to write fast, I always write facts? Hell, I recently replayed Half-Life 2 again after about 3 years of not playing that game, and sure enough, I remembered like every single little thing about it. I remembered every way of combating enemies, every spawn point of the enemies, all the weapons and how they worked, and I managed to plough through the whole thing in about 7 hours. Not bad for a game I haven't played since about 2015. See what I mean? Yeah, we also have a tendency to just talk non-stop about our special interests. Usually to the point where everyone around just gives up and dies on purpose so that they don't have to listen to you. So, sorry about that. So yeah, special interests are like obsessions, but times 1,000. Moving on. Next we have sensory issues. Now this is basically us being under or over sensitive to things like sound, sight, touch, etc. Something that sounds fine for a normal person could sound way louder for an autistic person, and obviously that causes problems. Bright lights can be a problem for some people as well. I personally don't really get these problems that much, although I've definitely had auditory issues before, I'm pretty sure. Now, I'm assuming that non-autistic people are able to block out certain sounds and just focus on one thing. I mean, that's what I'm assuming, as from what I can gather. But we can't really do that. So, for example, there'll be someone talking to me, and then there'll be someone playing music over there, and a lot of cars going by over there, and all the sound just comes in at once. It makes it very hard to concentrate on just one thing. Touch is also a big one. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the reason behind this is, but we really hate physical contact. It's just, no, don't do it. Rule 1, don't fucking touch me unless I say it's okay. Well, I mean, I personally am not too fussed myself, but for others that can be a right nightmare. Thirdly, eye contact. It's fine with the camera because no one's there. It's a weird one. Again, I'm not sure what causes this, but we Aspies just don't do eye contact very well. It might be possible for a few seconds at a time, but after that we just need to look away. Yeah, it's weird. Next is stimming. Okay, this is a bit of a funny one. Okay, stimming is when... Okay, it's doing an action, usually repetitive, in order to calm down or to stop from getting too anxious. At its most basic, I suppose. Rocking back and forth is quite a well-known form of this, and things like fiddling with small objects, in my case a pen lid or a coat zip, or I don't know, a lens cap I've got one lying around, I don't know. They are also fairly common. It's pretty much just a way of staying calm in certain situations, whether it be a social one or anything else really that can cause us to be anxious. Wow, there's so many typos on this script. Here's one that's a real problem for me. I don't really know what to call this one, so I'll just say brain will not switch off. Now I'm pretty sure this is at least related to Asperger's in some way. What I mean is there's always something going on in here. Always. My mind's never blank. There's always something going on in there, whether it be a song constantly playing or a scene from a film or just a load of random words or things in general. Even when I don't want to, I think of so many random things all the time and I just can't stop it. Like I said, I'm unsure if this is an actual Asperger's thing, but I'm very certain that it probably is. I might need to do some more research on this, come to think of it, but it does get in the way of concentration, similar to how some sensory issues can. Okay. Imagine it as having 2,478 internet tabs open all at once, and each one is playing something different. And also the battery has gone in your wireless mouse, and there's no other way of closing them down. So yeah, that's really all I can think to say about that one. Now this is something that I know I definitely do, and that's zoning out when in public, or just in general really. It's pretty much just daydreaming, but I find it's actually one of the few times where I can just take it easy. I usually do it on, well I don't know, I tend to do it often on car or bus journeys. I'm just often sat there, just sort of looking out the window and just zoning out for a while. It's actually a very nice feeling if you ask me. And I think a lot of autistic people will do this, they'll zone out and often they'll focus on a very small detail or something that a normal person likely wouldn't even take a second glance at. Yeah, I'm probably guilty of that too, actually. Okay, here's the big one right here. One of the main characteristics of autism, meltdowns, which essentially is yeah, that. When an autistic person gets too overwhelmed, either through sensory overload or too much information at once, then that leads to us losing emotional control. Now, if it's a kid doing it, then you might just call it like a tantrum, but unlike a tantrum, where the kid is likely just doing it to get attention, or he's just pissed off that he didn't get a picture of a Spider-Man cosplayer or some shit, meltdowns are largely uncontrollable and not done on purpose on the part of the autistic person. Now, from what I can deduce, there are usually two main types of meltdowns, the upset meltdown and the angry meltdown. The upset meltdown is, I think, is the more common one, where whoever's having it will just cry and hit themselves and all that stuff. I think that's the more common one. Then the angry meltdown, which is, I think, is the ones I tend to get, is more of just shouting abuse at what caused it and then punching my bed or something until it blows over. I guess you could say I have the manly meltdowns. I don't know why I put that on the script, I'm so sorry. Okay, so those were just a few things that autistic people and people with Asperger's have to deal with on an almost daily basis, I suppose you could say. Now, a lot of that sounded quite negative, I think, but there are some positive sides to the condition. We tend to have a very good memory, or at least for certain things. Especially for Asperger's, we're regarded as having an above average intelligence, which is maybe debatable for some people, but you know, me. And if we're really good at one specific thing, then we'll usually stick with it, and depending on what that thing is, it can be really good. Particularly if it lands us with a job. Now, despite having Asperger's, I'm not an expert on it, so this video probably isn't very professional in the slightest. That was the dog. So if you want to find out more, then it's nothing a quick Google search can't fix. Providing you get the right information, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Just saying. Well, that's all I have for this video. I could probably say more, but I don't fancy doing that right now. Yeah, this video is a lot more serious than the sort of ones that I tend to do. I mean, it's hardly a try not to laugh challenges that aren't even funny. And, so yeah, this is something I just wanted to make, just sort of try it out, rather than just sticking with the usual me just trying to be funny with the occasional actual funny bit. I thought I'd try something a bit more serious and whatnot. So I don't know, we'll see how it turns out. So yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed, I suppose, and maybe consider subscribing if you haven't already, if you can really be bothered to. And I'll see you all next time. Bye! We really got to think of a new way of ending videos and just walking off camera, god damn it.